It's hard, I've been scarred from out fighting. Waking up, stomach is starved, I keep grinding. 6 a.m, life isn't hard, I keep reciting. It feels like I might fall apart, I keep trying. Sun's coming up and the glare is so blinding. I'm sick of hearing and seeing all of the people whining. You want something good, then you better go put the time in. You get what you pay for and time is money, we climbing. It's prime time, it's my time, I got it. I'll be just fine, my mind, you can't stop it. Give me a vine to climb and I'll top it. Grow yourself a spine, got mine, that's a promise. Take a deep breath and head towards the darkness. The light at the end wasn't put there by no novice. My hand I extend, so welcome to my office. No time to repent, we're building and not stopping.
We gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. And we ain't gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. Yeah, I'm the fucking show.
I'm gonna rule this world one day. Y'all finna know the name. I'm spitting game to the people who decide our fate. I'll make a name in history, be one of the greats. I've got the traits that you need to get past the gates. Man, I don't wait, I exceed every single day. A different breed, yeah, I put it on display. Got all I need, and it's up inside my brain. I will succeed, cause I tell myself that every day. Y'all will concede and remember the name. Shout out to Fort Minor, cause it's 50% pain. But that 5% of pleasure's why I'm still in the game. And I exceed every measure by hard work, I'll explain. It's early mornings and late nights. It's fight and sleep, that's the hardest fight. But when you sleep, someone's passing by. You better try harder and fight smarter to go farther. Become your own monster, call a self-starter.
Take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. And we ain't gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. Yeah, I'm the fucking show.
It's hard, I've been scarred from out fighting. Waking up, stomach is starved, I keep grinding. 6 a.m, life isn't hard, I keep reciting. It feels like I might fall apart, I keep trying. Sun's coming up and the glare is so blinding. I'm sick of hearing and seeing all of the people whining. You want something good, then you better go put the time in. You get what you pay.
Welcome to the Redeye stream. This is, what is it, number 240?
Yeah, it's number 240. It's 3 years for Mad Dodge Productions being up on YouTube. I can't believe we made it. Anyway, go ahead, Optimus.
That's right. I am the back-end guy / robot Optimus Christ, because Jesus can't turn into a truck. With me here, I have the Mad Libertarian. This is your cue to say hi. Or not. Next up, we have Memes of Destruction.
Hey guys, what's going on? I think MD just has a little child aggro at the moment. So as he feigns dead, let's go on, Optimus.
Hey. All right. Next up, we have Maya Strud.
It's fine, man. Absolutely fine. Nice to see you. Nice to be in the stream. Hello, chat. How's everyone today?
Everything is fine. Next up, we have Lil Silea.
Hello.
She's not much of a talker. And next up, we have our favorite chat moderator, Jensen Quinn.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all here.
All right. So the reason why we switched up the format a little tonight is for discussion night, is because I've been seeing a lot of things on YouTube about Patreon and a lot of people complaining, right? Complaining about this, trying to prove Patreon is contradictory and, you know, a hypocrite and all that. That's fine and dandy, but what we want to focus on is facts, okay? Patreon's already done this. And so just before we get into the discussion of solutions and not the problem, just wanted to go under some underlying things with you and a little bit of information you may or may not know. So, to the question, is PayPal a bank-like institution? The answer to that is no. For the simple fact is, PayPal account limitations for bank customers, in the eyes of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and state regulators, PayPal is not a bank. Funds stored in PayPal accounts were once deposited into bank money market accounts, and some PayPal balances were eligible for pass-through FDIC insurance. However, they did not. So that is a description of what PayPal isn't. Now, moving on, recently YouTuber Law did a video about how he's filing a claim with the FTC in regards to the antitrust laws. Okay, so if you don't know what the FTC is, in general, the Commission may prosecute any inquiry necessary to its duties in any part of the United States and may gather and compile information concerning and to investigate from time to time the organization, business, conduct, practices, and management of any person, partnership, or corporation engaged or those business affects commerce, accepting banks, savings, and loan institutions. Okay? Federal credit unions, common carriers, etc., etc. Now, that's the general overview. Now, how it benefits consumers. As a consumer business person, you may be more familiar with the work of the FTC than you think. The FTC deals with issues that touch the economic life of every American. It's the only federal agency which, with both consumer protection and competition jurisdiction in broad sectors of the economy. The FTC pursues vigorous and effective law enforcement, advances consumers' interest by sharing its expertise with federal and state legislators and U.S. and international government agencies. Okay, it develops the policy and research tools through hearings, workshops, and conferences, creates practical and plain language educational programs for consumers and businesses in a global marketplace with constantly changing technologies. FTC's work is performed by the Bureaus of Consumer Protection, Competition, and Economics. That work is aided by the Office of General Counsel and 7 regional offices. Okay. Now, with the whole thing on the FTC investigation being opened up, right? So, in direct relation to the FTC and how MasterCard, you know, banking processes, PayPal, and Stripe may be looked at is for pulling out of Subscribestar, right? So in relation to it, this is where it would most likely open the door to the investigation. Monopolies, with the underlining refusing to deal. Like any company, monopolies can choose who they wish to conduct business with. However, if they use their market dominance to prevent competition, this can be considered in violation of antitrust laws, which Subscribestar was trying to be in competition with Patreon. So that's where it would open the door. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with the FTC and the antitrust laws, the three big ones that are usually focused on is the Sherman Act, intended to prevent unreasonable contract combination or conspiracy and restraint of trade, and monopolization, attempted monopolization, or conspiracy or combination to monopolize. Violations against the Sherman Act can have severe consequences, with fines up to $100 million for corporations and $1 million for individuals, as well as prison terms up to 10 years. Now, the FTC Acts bans unfair methods of competition and unfair and deceptive acts or practices. According to the Supreme Court, violations of the Sherman Act also violate the FTC Act. Therefore, even though the FTC cannot technically enforce the Sherman Act, it can bring cases under the FTC Act against violations of the Sherman Act. And then the third one is the Clayton Act. Addresses specific practices that the Sherman Act may not address. According to the FTC, these include preventing mergers and acquisitions that may substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly, preventing discriminatory prices, services, and allowances in dealings between merchants, requiring large firms to notify the government of possible mergers and acquisitions, and imbuing private parties with the right to sue for triple damages when they have been harmed by conduct that violates the Sherman and Clayton Acts, as well as allowing the victims to obtain court orders to prohibit further future transgressions. With that being said, the reason why we decided to do this stream tonight as a discussion night is to discuss options instead of the problem, to discuss solutions instead of catering to fifis, or for those of you not hip, feelings, because facts do not care about your feelings. We discussed the possible solutions that are already in place and could potentially in the future fix this whole situation. Go ahead.
Well, like you said, Optimus, there are a number of alternatives starting to pop up. I know Direwolf Media put out their own little one they put up, and the big one I think many people are waiting for is the one that Professor Peterson and Dave Rubin said that they'll be coming out before the end of the year. So that should be very much any day now. And the big thing comes down to, as long as folks aren't going to be deplatformed as long as it's not anything breaking the law. Basically, you can say what you want to say, even if it's viewed as hateful, as long as you're not actually inciting violence. So, I mean, Patreon may have just given up their majority market share, but we'll have to see.
Right, and the thing is, with a lot of business-related antics, right? The thing is, a lot of people I find are complaining about Patreon being a hypocrite, yet not canceling their accounts, or if they do, it's because they're small and it's inconsequential anyway. So with that being said, you know, they're taking a hit to the wallet. So who else has something?
Well, okay, when it comes into setting up a new system, much like Subscribestar, this is going to sound like whinging for a second. I'm going to get to the solution at the end, so let me button it up, please. But the problem is the food chain involved around the economic processing. So with Subscribestar in particular, PayPal pulled out. With PayPal has had issues with MasterCard, having issues. I think that was with BitChute specifically. So as far as building an alternate platform, that's actually been done a couple of times, but they keep getting shut down because the ISPs will be attacked, or the processing servers will be attacked, or. The best answer that I saw actually came from Tim Pool, which is shipping over to a cryptocurrency model, because there are now payment options where you can pay like $1 to someone in USD, and they'll get however much of a cryptocurrency that is, given into their crypto wallet. And I think that is probably long-term going to be the better answer, because there is no singular company that can throw a roadblock in the way of that happening. I mean, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, Microsoft has stepped in on certain places and said that they won't even handle web hosting. I mean, there's a slew of problems with the tech monopolies. And it's getting to the point now, quite logistically, the thought of building a second internet structure is not that unbelievable, because it's kind of what you need to do to genuinely build another system. Because then they can't attack your payment processors, they can't attack your web hosters, they can't attack anything if you're on an entirely parallel system, which I think is the worst idea that we could go with. Because we don't want 2, 3, 5, 20 internets. We really don't.
What would you say? Would you say the same thing, knowing that cryptocurrency is currently volatile? You know,
I'm saying that knowing that it's currently volatile. I'm specifically saying that knowing that cryptocurrency is still a fad, but it's the only way I think we can get away from the various blocks that have been used against Subscribestar. I think Maker Support had one, BitChute had one, Gab had issues with this. Yeah, I mean, all of the other platforms that have been built and our second tier social media sites have been hit in either their ISPs or in their payment processing service. So to step away from that, you're going to need something decentralized that is not controlled, which right now the only feasible option is cryptocurrency.
Not necessarily. A lot of people are going the route where you're finding the people that will do the payment processing, but you're finding them from, you know, Pornhub pretty much. Whoever Pornhub is will charge a higher fee, but they will process the payments for anybody. And that's probably where Peterson and them are going to have to go, is somebody that will have a higher fee for the payment transfer, but doesn't give a shit about reputation.
Well, it's funny that you brought up Pornhub, because Pornhub specifically has an entire section now of streamers on it that I think mostly have moved over to Stream.me since the Ralph retort went there and infused it with a lot of its user base. But for a while, Pornhub was running political commentary on it. You know, you go to Pornhub and you'd see like a live stream, and then it's an actual discussion live stream, and everyone's dressed. I mean, so I like, that's not so far out the wing, because it's not like Pornhub or X Hamster is going to care that you're saying something worse than what they're showing in video anyway.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because even over on Pornhub, I mean, none of the gals or dudes over there, I mean, there's nothing that specifically says that you have to be naked per se, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, because everything is consensual.
Well, that's exactly why they went there, and that's exactly why they were using it, is because they weren't violating the terms of service on site, nor was it a problem from Pornhub to host them. They just want the traffic. They want the traffic click, and they don't really care where it comes from.
Yeah, and they got a lot of traffic from the gun channels with the big banning from YouTube. But that is getting a little off track. I'll let you. I still don't think Patreon. They are providing us a service. We are hiring them to transfer money. That's it. They shouldn't be looking through everything and really giving a shit.
Considering the fact that they do take a processing fee as well.
Oh, they're getting paid, because like Ms. Hart said, they primarily focus on payment processing. It seems like the big kerfuffle that they've run into is the sheer fact that a lot of the back end, the major networks that are primarily used by many folks, if they are actually threatening them, and I remember Mr. V just premiered a video not all that long ago about saying it seems like a lot of folks are getting heavily pressured by these folks. So, I mean, the sheer fact that they end up pulling out a Subscribestar, both PayPal and Stripe, essentially at the same time, thereby more or less at least temporarily crippling that platform. That's where YouTuber Law, Mr. Lior, he filed that FTC complaint, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That is going to be...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to jump back to Patreon, though, because something popped in my head as you were saying that. Look at that transcript again. She says that, well, you could lock it for Patreons only. That way nobody else can see it. Wait a minute. I thought you said this content can't be on your platform at all. Now you're telling me to lock it for the people paying me? What happens when you start going through the lock stuff? I mean, because I only put Patreon only stuff on there.
Right. And the one thing, so So the whole underlying thing that I've noticed when it comes to Patreon, the one thing that distinguishes them from any other, payment processing quote unquote platform, and I use that term loosely, is the ability to do monthly subscriptions. Okay? If that was not a thing and they didn't allow different tiers, it would essentially be Streamlabs. So one of my suggestions would be, because with Streamlabs, you can link your bank, you can link your PayPal, you can link, what is it, Skrillex or whatever, different sorts of currencies and types of payment processors. My suggestion is if Streamlabs allowed for the option to do monthly payments, they would make a killing because they're already payment process backed. And the thing is, people are donating anyway. What if they had the option of like monthly recruitals? Then they only have one thing to go to. There's a simple link there. They have the option. Then they don't have to log into a site like Patreon, because Patreon would lose their edge with it being a monthly subscription fee.
That is a potential there, Optimus. However, at least as far as I know, the way Streamlabs works is somebody submits their payment, it's a one-time fee. The thing you run into with payment processing is it needs to be continually done very often on an extremely large scale. That's why Patreon ends up literally subcontracting it out to either Stripe or PayPal, because at least the time I spent in the fitness industry, that was one of folks' biggest complaints, because the payment processors in the gym industry, I mean, if you've ever had a gym membership and tried to cancel that, I mean, I think you may feel the pain that many have felt, because once they set up that electronic fund transfer, or EFT, I mean, they want that because they are getting paid on behalf of whatever gym or healthcare or health club's solution that they actually have. It's just basically it's a vendor dealing with a vendor, and it's almost kind of like keeping everyone's credit card on track in a file, keeping it secure, and then running it at the exact same time every month, sometimes for varied amounts.
Well, the thing about...
Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, if I could. The thing about that specifically in like gym memberships that you brought up that applies to this is in the subscription reoccurring payment option. That is the fundamental difference between Patreon and PayPal. Now, in a gym subscription, you're signing a contract typically. Same thing with martial arts dojos in that regard. And those are almost impossible to fucking break, because the payment processors themselves that bill you each month bill off of how many monthly transactions they have, and that counts towards their actual financial value. So if they have like $1 million $1 transactions a month, I'm just easy math, then that's what they can put for their shareholders or for their IPO. What the issue, I think, is, as opposed to using like PayPal or a Streamlabs setup, is it's in effect is people are griping because Patreon makes it very lazy. You just set it up once and then you have access to the tiers and you're done. Whereas you can already, even with Patreon acting a fool, you can already go in and donate $1 a month without anything else. You just need a credit card or PayPal or something like that. And I would really like it if, Patreon or something of the equivalent, functionality doesn't end up like a gym membership where you have to sign a contract with them to donate to the creators that they're supporting. Because I think that would just cause all kinds of issues.
So,
and I don't personally find that a solution.
The one point I did want to raise with Streamlabs, and that meme's brought up, is that, the capability of linking payment processors. Streamlabs already does that. The thing is, you can link your bank account directly to Streamlabs. You can link a prepaid card. You can link your PayPal. They already have that capability. They already contract that out. The thing is, if you link your bank or prepaid, it has a storage for you in which the donations go to, that allows you to withdraw, much like PayPal, to your bank account. So they already have that there. If they incorporated a monthly subscription, and I would even go as so far as to say like different tiers, that they could make a killing just off the transaction fees alone.
Oh, at that point they become Patreon with the live stream capability.
And essentially PayPal, because they store it if you link a bank account or like a prepaid card.
Well, here's a question. Okay, let's say Patreon gets told by Visa and MasterCard, hey, we don't want Richard Spencer on there. We don't like his hateful views. Okay, they kick him. What if Richard Spencer then goes shopping with his Visa and is able to buy anything he wants on Amazon? Aren't they still letting him use their service? Why is on one hand they're like, okay, he could have the card and buy shit, and we'll take the fee from him directly. On the other, they're like, we don't like his hateful views, kick him off. We don't want him to get paid.
Right.
That's actually a pretty good question, Matt, because in the stories I've heard where MasterCard or Visa has stepped into one of the lower tiered economic suppliers, be it a PayPal or Streamlabs, although I haven't heard any drama with Streamlabs, so I should probably leave them out. But with PayPal specifically, as far as I know, they're still allowed to use the banking debit cards, the banking credit cards. They're still allowed to have a bank account. I mean, I think that the reason why they can't do that has more to do with international and national banking laws for the various countries, as opposed to just leaning on someone in the back room. If I'm judging the situation correctly, that's what it appears to be.
Right.
I just do need to point out as well that Temma points out in the chat that
I was about to say,
YouTubers Law angle is actually potential collusion between Patreon, PayPal, Stripe, for the sheer fact that once everyone went to a competitor, they basically just torpedoed them.
Right, with the antitrust laws. That was a short point that we made to reiterate it. Now we're discussing, solutions instead of, like the problem. Like, I'm going to give my support to YouTuber Law, no doubt, with the whole FTC, whatever I need to do in order to get that ball rolling. However, now we're discussing alternatives instead of complaining about the problem.
Yeah, but to be able to figure out the solution, you need to actually pinpoint the problem. And it's so all over the map here when it comes to censorship, which is what this is. This is censoring somebody's political opinion by stealing their money and making it so they can't even pay their internet bill to even voice said opinion.
Well, I mean, it is all over the map because the issue is all over the map, because what you're having, and this is my take on it. What you're having is you are having a group of financial companies decide what is moral and what isn't. So where financial companies typically stay to just dealing with the transaction-based system of capitalism, they are instead applying and leveraging their morality on top of it, which is causing a huge ripple effect in that. This is why I mentioned that we didn't want 3 or 4 internets. I mean, there's going to have to be something that shatters this apart, because you're right. I mean, you make a BitChute to have it lose all of its funding. You make a Gab and it gets in trouble. You make your own style of Patreon that will accept people, and suddenly it loses everything. So I really, I'm for the most part an anti-statist, but this is where the legitimacy of the government should be applied. I mean, you cannot have international banking conglomerates determine what you're allowed to say. That is not going to be a good situation at all.
So is it the point now that we actually, some of these companies are more or less monopolies in their facets of the market, correct?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, if you look at MasterCard alone, it is a larger GDP than America. Just let that sink in. The largest national GDP country in the world is dwarfed by an international banking conglomerate, otherwise known as MasterCard.
Oh, though that's somewhat interesting and somewhat terrifying at the same time there. But if these companies are more or less monopolies, if we actually have laws on the books to help deal with this, why are we not using them? Is it just because a lot of politics go, well, we don't want to go against these folks because they might say mean things about us on the news, in the media, on the internet? I mean, if we got laws, we can use them, right?
Well, yes, but in order to bring any type of legal action, you have to have a legitimately aggrieved party, someone injured by their actions that is willing to take it to court. And then you have to beat them in a lawsuit against however many attorneys and however much money they can throw at it. So
we have an aggrieved party.
Okay, we have many, but I'm going to bring this to an aside and step out of the payment processing conversation and bring up an example that is actually substantiated by law because it's finally settled. Walmart was sued multiple times, and they managed to just delay until the aggrieved parties ran out of money, and then the suit ended. Finally, what broke it was a class action lawsuit over the fact that they were just outright denying people overtime because their time clock would just cut time off. And it took a state, federal, and class action international suit to bring Walmart to heel. And even then, it didn't cost them more than 1.5% of their yearly, a single year's income. So, I mean, what you're looking at is you're looking at an organization that is so large and so unwieldy that bringing it to term, even a country as large as the United States, I do not think could adequately bring MasterCard to heel without an entire federal approach to it. I mean, you're looking at something. I mean, yeah, it would lose a great deal out of the American market, but we're one country out of 147.
Yeah, but we also have allies that we could also probably leverage and take action as well. But that's not even what I'm saying. Isn't necessarily take action directly against Visa or MasterCard, because I actually think it's more Patreon and PayPal that's doing this, not necessarily the card company. I really don't think they give a crap, to be honest. But the thing is, though, if you want to create new laws because the old laws are outdated, then strike the old laws first. I don't want any new laws on the books. Thank you very much.
So well, that's what I'm saying. As long as we actually have, sorry to cut you off this, but if we actually have stuff on the books right now, why don't we just utilize things that are on the books if there actually is a problem rather than creating new laws?
I think it's more of a referencing cases that have already, happened in order to state your case across the point with these court systems now. Because when the internet came into existence and whatnot, they had to create a whole new set of laws for them for this specific type of thing. I mean, of course, FTC and FCC were around before then, but it was new territory at the time. So now it's more of a reference cases that have already gone through instead of actually presenting the case. And then that's what triggers the investigation with the FTC.
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the sheer fact that it really does seem that, okay, you strike an individual off, all of a sudden you start shedding actual subscribers to your platform. Said struck down individual then all of a sudden goes to a very minor competitor. A lot of other folks start going over there as well. Then instantly that platform receives a heavy hamstring. So at that point, it's like, I don't know if that's collusion, but I mean, Lior, he's filing the complaint. He's working on it right now, and it seems like a lot of folks are backing him up.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I wasn't trying to be pessimistic. That's part of the reason why I brought up the Walmart suit is I was trying to draw an equivalent between the size of the corporation and the laws on books. I'm not advocating for any new law in any way, shape, or form. My only bit of incredulity comes from the fact of we could barely put a dent in Walmart, and Walmart isn't even remotely close to the size of a company that MasterCard is. And I don't think that a single country can bring these to heal properly until there's some sort of, I hate to say this, but there needs to be some sort of, much like what happened with the auto industry, a rebalancing within it. Without a bailout, they need to just break. If you're too big to fail, you don't need to exist. And I think that's part of the problem, because they were completely supported in the '08 crash. They can do whatever they want. I mean, remember when Bank of America was foreclosing on people that never had a mortgage? I mean, that was a thing that actually happened. I mean, they were sued for it, and there's been nothing, because the Bank of America has just been litigating it into just nothing, because they're just delay.
Yes,
So,
I do. I do remember that. And as a matter of fact, I owe the Bank of America $170.
Everyone, welcome Straight Sith Mail to the stream.
hey, man.
Oh,
I was waiting for a point to introduce you, but I figured that was a perfect time when you spoke up. So, welcome.
you don't have to. No, but I owe the Bank of America $195, I believe, somewhere around that. And I'm not gonna fucking pay it. Bank of America can suck my balls.
Okay,
that's
well,
part of my-
anyway.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, I was just gonna mess with Straight Sith and just tell him, explain interest rates and how that's not gonna work out for him. But whatever, he's a grown up.
Well, that's part of why I brought that up specifically. I mean, is the fact that Bank of America was proven to have broken lease lending law when they did that, and yet it's still being delayed and kept out of court. And there's something like, I think it's close to 4,000 signatories onto there of people that never had mortgages or paid off their mortgage a decade before when Bank of America showed up to claim their house. I mean, it's a huge lawsuit that's just marinating in its own shit because Bank of America can delay that long. So, I mean, this is not attempting to be whinging, but this is why I was pushing towards cryptocurrency, because there is no financial control over that yet. And that's the big appeal about it, is the fact that it's not behind these massive financial institutions' paywalls.
Master, what is the best thing that you can get with the cryptocurrency? And I'm sorry, I have not delved into it. I'm just wondering what you can get with it.
Well, it depends on which crypto wallet you're using and the current day's exchange. This is what Optimus was talking about, it being volatile, and it is extremely volatile. Like Bitcoin opened up one day at like $50 a coin, dropped to $12 a coin, and then was up to 75 by the end of the day. It's incredibly in flux, but a large amount of that comes from how many people are mining for crypto and how much crypto is actually traded. It's just using a torrent-style blockchain allows for it to be completely decentralized and uncontrolled. So there is no. And as far as what you can buy with it, you just need an exchange service, and there's many that will exchange at the nanosecond that you hit the button. So you just need an appropriate company that will exchange it into whatever fiat currency you have for whatever country you're in, and then you have it in your wallet from there. As I mentioned before, there's a new service from, I think it's Litecoin and Bitcoin, where you can give people a single dollar donation, and they'll give like a percentage of a coin into somebody's wallet now. So, I mean, you can actually donate directly via the cryptos at this current juncture in time, right now. Like, that's changed since the Patreon debacle started with Soygon.
Let me go ahead and interject here for a second. Sorry about that. Cass, thank you for the recommendation. I will look into that. And he also brings up, unfortunately, cryptocurrency is getting fucked by China right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of problems with it. This is a solution stream, not a whinge stream. So,
There's one of the gentlemen over there. He's like the primary miner of crypto. Like, he's got literally all these server farms just dedicated to mining like Bitcoin and probably Ethereum and things like that.
Well, that's what I was going to get to is the other cryptocurrencies. What do we know about them? I know the Brave browser actually pays out in crypto, and you have to transfer it to USD or whatever.
Not just that. Apparently, you can get groceries with cryptocurrency.
CNN actually did a segment where they were getting around New York City using Bitcoin. It was clunky. It was possible to do it, but again, it was still clunky. So it ends up coming down to the integration between folks that take it as well as being able to exchange it for actual fiat currency as well. Basically, that conversion, which is possible, it is getting better. But like has been stated several times, it is highly volatile right now. It's not backed up by gold or oil or anything like that.
Well, I mean, we have a prime historical example of what that was like, and that's only 40, 50 years old, which was the introduction of plastic credit cards. There was a good many places for a long time you couldn't even use them because they just didn't have the ability to process them because they didn't have the scanners or any type of connection to the various companies. So I mean, it's like any other innovation. It takes a while for it to move around, but the more people that use it and the more people that get engrossed in the new technology, the faster it spreads. And I mean, that's a prime example because I mean, I remember back in the 80s, you could go to a grocery store and there was a hen house down the street from my house, and they didn't have any credit card at all. So you'd have to write a check. In the 80s, they didn't have any way to process credit cards at all because credit cards were still a newfangled invention and nobody trusted them.
Real quick, was it Yellowfront? Do you remember Yellowfront and Piggly Wigglies?
I remember Piggly Wiggly. We had one in Missouri. So, but I mean, not in Kansas. I've never seen a Piggly Wiggly in Kansas.
Okay. Yellowfront?
Yeah, my big thing is I just want to know when can we switch to currency that we can all use and love, like Pogs.
No, how about something backed by gold?
Hey, I got a crap ton of Pogs. I'm rich.
Hey man, I'm still waiting for Fallout trading for bottle caps. I mean that's perfectly fine. I mean it's just the thing is that it will, in any form of high-end capitalism, when you're using a exchanged barter rate for anything, be it gold, be it commodities, whatever, as soon as you step out of a physical trade of I will trade you this many pelts of of deer for that goat over there. As soon as you get into actual just monetary exchange, it's going to be volatile. I mean, especially like when the first coins started getting minted back in ancient Egypt and into the Greece, like the Greeks initially couldn't trade with the Egyptians because they weren't going to trade gold because gold was something only for the city-state kings. Like it wasn't even minted in a coin for a good 200-300 years because the Greeks weren't willing to adopt it. I mean, it's going to take a minute, and that's fine. It's just that the more that there are other options than using a credit service, I mean, be it a crypto or going back to an actual gold trade exchange or an actual direct one-to-one commodity exchange, will break up some of this monopoly. But as long as it is a strictly held monopoly, I mean, there's 3 top credit cards, right? Visa, MasterCard, Discover. Can anyone think of another one? American Express, maybe?
Yeah, American Express.
Card, nobody accepts Discover Card anymore.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much a dead company. I mean, you're looking at 2 more or less. So I mean,
they're specialized relationships usually for Discover.
Yeah, like EBT cards, things like that. But yeah, no, I mean, but the point is, so you have 2 major ones, and you have Visa and MasterCard that covers international world transactions. Just think about that. You're talking about 2 companies that handle exchange between anyone worldwide that automatically does the currency exchange right there at the point of payment.
Well, actually, to help bring this back around, since we're talking about the payment processing as well, wasn't one of the solutions that was stated in there was getting a merchant ID. So basically, you become an actual merchant themselves, and I thought that solved a lot of problems, I believe, according to Miss Hart.
Actually, that's not a bad idea because you can, like, people do that all the time, right? There's a little attachment for your smartphone where you can scan a credit card. So that's actually not a bad solution.
No, it's not. But I mean, you're taking it to even a more digital reply then. I mean, and I do not fundamentally see the difference, and perhaps it's me that's having the problem here, but I do not fundamentally see the difference between scanning my phone for its bar receipt to pay for this thing, because you can just tap the new Samsung and iPhones to the checkout window and it pays for it, and using another payment option. It doesn't have to be exclusively MasterCard or Visa.
Yeah, no, and that phone thing you're talking about, that leaves a lot of room open for hacking your fucking card directly through your phone, which isn't that hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
God, all of this, everything they're talking about, they're talking about that we screw everybody and the NSA, the FBI, so on and so forth, right? They control and watch everything we say. It's not a joke. I understand where the old school conspiracy theorists were coming from, because they were right.
I know. If only there was a platform that was freely available that combined the sheer fact of a forum, voice chat, as well as being able to send links to people. I like Discord.
Well, no, I was just thinking, though, the problem is, like, even Tim Pool was talking about crypto, right? And he's like, yeah, it's volatile, but if you send me the money right then and then I transfer it right then, I get the money. Well, dude, what if you wait 10 minutes? Like, come on, Tim Pool. Like, how much time you got a day to sit on your phone
The
and
internet
transfer
is very
money?
reliable.
I'm kind of interested to see what little Silea has to say about this.
She may or not be AFK. Oh, hi.
I am not AFK. Someone was talking to me. The other day we were talking to a few people that were bitching and moaning about the fees that they're charged and whatnot for PayPal and Patreon and all this. Like, where do you think they're getting their money? How do you think that they're going to actually keep PayPal open? If it's free and you're just transferring money, or you're getting paid, how are they going to keep it running if they don't actually have the fees to keep it running in the first place? So bitching and moaning about fees, or which one's better versus the other, I mean, you're getting nowhere, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is exactly my point. Sorry, is that Queen of Shade?
No, that's Silea.
Oh, okay. Anyways, yeah, no, she's right. She's not wrong whatsoever.
Because they aren't a bank. They're not. I mean, even a bank. I mean, how many of us have actually got the crazy fees that banks charge?
There's a reason why you use a credit union.
$1, $2, or however much, it depends on the amount, but I'd rather pay that dollar versus $10 to just go pull money out of my account. Like, bitching and moaning about it ain't going to get you nowhere.
Yeah. Now, does a lot of this just come down to being able to separate us from our money with as few clicks as possible?
Yeah, well, that's my only input, and then the few clicks. I know PayPal's gotten a little bit better about that. I'm not fully familiar with Patreon or Streamlabs or anything like that. But I know PayPal has been working on that one.
See, the interesting thing is with Patreon too, and I do believe a lot of this is for tax purposes, but Vash was telling me of an example. Basically, he was pledged $50 from an individual, But at the same time, he had $70 of total pledges because he was working and everything. He had his factory job. So, but whenever that $50 was donated, it instantly went to his Patreon. So it went basically to his payout rather than to him at all. So it almost seemed like the way it's set up, it seems like a series of IOUs, if you would, because I remember Tim Pool as well covered a story the other day where he was speaking about an individual whose account was suspended without notification. While it was suspended, he didn't receive any money, but all his payouts were paid out.
Yeah, no, actually, that's what I was bringing up earlier about Patreon in general, is the fact that that's not the only person who's received a shadow review, where they're not even told, and the automatic, much like the gym membership that was brought up earlier, the automatic reoccurring funds were still being taken out and put into the payout wallet, but they've had no access to it because their account is under review for some reason. A really good friend of mine who's a content creator got 3 strikes on YouTube and still has $200 in the payout from YouTube that he has no access to. It's just sitting there acquiring interest on that account. So I mean, it's just sitting there, and he's created a couple other YouTube accounts to try to get at that funding, and each time it's shut down because it violates their terms of service. So yeah. That's another problem. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Siley.
Yeah, but I mean, all businesses.
Sorry, Siley, I muted you because when you were going through your draws and stuff, it was broadcasting on stream. My apologies.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm trying to keep myself muted.
She may have child aggro as well. These things happen when you have children.
Dang
I like kids.
They follow me everywhere. The biggest problem.
Oh God, Optimus must be dragging the muffler. Oh God. That doesn't make me in charge, does it? We're all screwed. But no, okay, Matt's back.
No, I've been here.
Well, no, Sileo was in the middle of a sentence there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. You know what? Now I've completely lost train of thought. Dang it. Go ahead. Hopefully it will come back.
This is what happens when memes keep talking.
Oh, I only muted her. I thought I muted her on the stream. My apologies.
Well, real quick thing, getting back to the point I was making that was brought up about what Patreon had done with the shadow reviews, and how this ties into YouTube, and it's doing the same type of thing. As far as I know, there is nothing illegal about them not touching the money that's there. However, what they get to do is use that as part of their banked income. So I think that there is a substantial financial incentive to have a good number of people that are no longer allowed to use their service, but they can't withdraw their money either. So the issue that I foresee with that is what you're looking at very specifically is specifically in something that's a service that you're supposed to pay for. And Mads brought this up, and a couple other people brought this up, where you are hiring, in effect, Patreon to micromanage your donation streams for you, so it's easier on you as a content creator. And this is again getting back to me mentioning that they're an agency. Basically, they're an ad agency or a referral agency, like you would see in any other
broker.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said that they're like a broker. It's kind of like if you work as a real estate agent, you either need to have a broker's license or under a broker, just because of that is an actual regulation. That's how they have the industry set up for certain consumer protections. And they, believe it or not, they actually do try to enforce some level of ethical behavior. But I mean, that's usually in regards to business practices, not just being on a random live stream on something not necessarily associated with your content and dropping some N-bombs. Not saying it's a good thing, but it's a thing.
Well, but your broker, if you're selling your house, okay, since you brought up that, your broker, if you're selling your house, is not going to kick you off the service and keep your account in escrow because they see a social media post of you making bad jokes or being fucking serious, for Christ's sake. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. So what you're looking at is they are acting both as a distributor and as a publisher. And you cannot have that within a financial transaction. This is why I brought up the fact that you have international banking companies subscribing their morality to things. And that is, I think, the fundamental issue.
It's times like, oh, go on.
No. I have a tendency to rant. So
no, I do as well. I have a tendency to interrupt, especially when I mute people that I haven't actually been muted on the stream. So sorry, Leah. But going back to what we were talking about right there, you're dealing with a particular platform, and how do we end up like figuring this out? Like, is this a potentially like one of those I am Spartacus moments? Like I'm just entertaining an idea. It's probably one of the worst ideas in the world, but what happens if all of a sudden you had a number of folks that were still on Patreon basically just tell a bunch of members of the alt-right to say they're a bunch of you-know-whats? And if everybody, it's kind of like the whole I am Kekistan meme, except you're dropping N-bombs against the alt-right. If you had 10,000 people do that and they all posted on Patreon, they would then have to.
Well, here's a better idea. I mean, like, don't make them kick you off. What you do is everybody just leaves. And
I don't have Patreon.
They have like what 100,000 users. If that dropped to 20,000, can they keep operating? And now go ahead, Maestra.
Oh, no. 2 quick points. Number one, as far as I know, no social media company has had a major issue with people being horrifically insert your ist here towards the right wing. That's not a problem on any of these sites or services. So by what memes is saying, they just ignore it. As far as what Madd's saying, that's already happening. We brought up Tim Pool a lot. He has a video where he's bitching about the fact that he's lost something close to $7,000 a month because of the sheer volume of people that are leaving the site. So, I mean, that should fix itself through just a natural market correction if things continue along this line. And that's all I was going to say.
I have a question. Why the fuck should we feel bad for Tim Pool?
Well, I don't want to see anybody's livelihood get taken away for nothing, though, straight Sith Mail, even if you disagree with him. And you know what? To be honest, most of the time I agree with him. But there is people like MC and obviously you who disagree with Tim Pool quite a bit, and you shouldn't give a crap. But I mean, what about Jason Alsep? Nobody gives a crap about him. What about Sargon? You don't give a crap about him either. What happens when they take down the smaller people?
I enjoy Sargon when he does the news. Tim Pool, I enjoy when he's actually speaking from truth and not just his own personal bias.
Well, I don't really see a reason why the particular individual is relevant to the conversation of financial transactions and dealing. See, I personally do not see that the bigot's dollar is worth any less in exchange than anyone else's. So it does not matter who in specific we're talking about. It's just that Tim Pool seems to be the most frequently mentioned in this particular dialectic. I don't think that the individual matters so much as just the actual actions and means of the company itself.
Okay, you're right, and I will give you that. And also, what about that when the Ralph retort and all them with the St. Jude's? That was terrible.
Yes. That's actually where the bigot's dollar discussion entered into the mainstream, was because for some reason, I guess the Wall Street Journal finds, $12,000 for child cancer research to St. Jude's offensive, to be offensive for some reason. And I mean, in that regard, why does it matter? I mean, as much as people, hate Henry Ford because the dude was an outright National Socialist and insane, the guy did a lot of philanthropy work as well. I mean, it's one of those things where
paid his workers a living wage so they could actually buy like his vehicles, which is
Exactly.
it's an awe-inspiring thing just to say at the time. I mean, you can disagree with the guy abhorrently and stuff, but I think a lot of this comes down to, and I'm not sure, Miestra, if you had actually said the means of the company or the memes of the company, because that actually I think that actually might be important there, and the reason why I say that is because the actual means, the actual ability of the company to produce something, in this case, cars, if they were able to build a good quality car for an affordable price and you were able to pay your workers an actual decent living wage, if you're able to do that, like that's a very positive expression. However, if Henry Ford was on Twitter dropping frickin' N-bombs and K-bombs and whatever the heck else it is there, that would probably hurt the company in some ways, because they'll be like, the dude that owns this company is an outright bigot. But back in the day, Henry Ford just sat in his office, smoked cigars, and probably drank cognac and stuff. It's like we didn't have that interconnectivity.
Yeah, he's responsible for shipping a great deal of steel out through Mexico City to support a lot of the Axis powers. I don't want to get into a history discussion about Henry Ford. I was just bringing that up as a direct one-to-one comparison. I mean, for all the hate, the modern example that Soros or the Koch brothers get, I mean, the major hospital here in Kansas City, most of their high-end facilities are all donated by the Koch brothers. I mean, especially like one of the major hospitals here is Children's Mercy. Koch brothers support most of that hospital. I mean, so for all of the shit that the Koch brothers do, they also do a lot of good things as well. So if we're going to subscribe morality to the individual and separate it from the company, then, I mean, that's going to...
No, it definitely helped Miami out.
So, everyone, welcome Ferret.
Hey, Ferret,
to the stream. Here in a few minutes, we're actually going to bring people in for the discussion. The first hour, I just wanted to be, for the panel. But now I think pretty much anyone that's in the Discord wants to get in a waiting room, And then, so Ferret, what's your view on this while we're waiting?
Well, it depends. I just got here.
Fair enough.
What are we currently talking about?
You would have to ask memes and everyone else. I mean, we were talking
about Ford being a company pioneered by more or less a National Socialist. At the current moment, we were actually talking about the Patreon and YouTuber law filing an FTC complaint against them, and we're looking for possible solutions to what's going on. Like, is it an antitrust thing? Is it that we should enforce the laws on the books that we really seemingly haven't since we had the breakup of Bell Telecommunications, AT&T, back in, I believe, the 80s, early 90s there? Or is this something where we need to pass like an internet bill of rights? Or is it simply extending political affiliation and activities to a list of protected classes? Like, what's going on, Ferret? What's the solution?
Okay. Well, first off, though, memes. Now if you wear a MAGA hat, you're considered racist. So I reject the racism mark. Second, Koch brothers actually donate to the Libertarian Party as well. They're fine by me. And third, protected classes memes.
So okay. Before you get that, here's the ultimate solution, right? Give me blueberries and I'll fix it all. By the way, Tiger Lily, welcome to the chat.
I was going to suggest that.
Yeah, give me blueberries. I'll fix it all right now.
Well, okay, really quick. I brought up the Koch brothers and compared them to Soros because depending on your political view, they are a boogeyman. Let's just not joke around. I don't care if you support them or not. It's the greater argument that I was making of, does the bigot's dollar actually value at $1? And who defines who as the bigot in this particular conversation? Now, if you're talking about how Patreon is subscribing its morality to how it transfers the bigot's dollar, then that is the point of conversation.
Well, here's the thing. let me answer the question that was posed to me. What I think, I don't really give a shit, and here's why. I use Patreon to support the people that I like for their content. I don't care if it's Patreon, PayPal, Streamlabs, Carrier Pigeon. I don't get my dollar to them no matter what. Now, Patreon happens to be the most convenient current solution every month for what. If they start pulling too much fuckery, I will take my business elsewhere, period. I don't care. I can't be bothered. As soon as it becomes inconvenient, I'm going to move on down the road. Period. Doesn't matter. And that's my entire thought on Patreon, period.
Yeah, that was the underlying premise that I tried to do for the stream. See if there were viable alternatives. Tiger Lily.
Carrier Pigeon is my last resort. I
need to get some of those then.
Pigeons to take dollars to people.
No, we need swallows.
I don't give a shit. Something better.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna ask Ferret, if there is no other alternative, because they're kind of creating a cabal to shut down every alternative that tries to rise up, you are going to be stuck with the carrier pigeon, not?
Well, that's the beautiful thing. Do you have a Walmart in your area?
I hear. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Well,
I will find a way to get you $1. I don't care. Patreon just happens to be easy because I don't have to fuck with it every month.
Well, that's part of what we were talking about with like Streamlabs or PayPal itself having a monthly subscription. The point that I was trying to get at more than that is there needs to be a market adjustment shift. And Ferret did a good job of explaining that from the consumer point of view of, fuck it, I'll just go, get a carrier pigeon instead, of how that shift is actually being applied. And that's fine. I was just getting more onto the fact that as long as you have financial institutions that are subscribing their morality to you, you are setting up a parallel system of ones that do and ones that don't. And that in and of itself, I think, will be long-term more derisive and more of a social ill than just, in many ways, forcing the financial institutions to only cover financial issues. I mean, I do not think it's healthy. And I do not see how society will survive if you have 2 or 3 internets, 2 or 3, commerces, 2 or 3, parallel existences. At that point, you're going to segregate and separate society into very tribalistic camps. And that does not go well historically. That goes very, very badly.
But for the individual consumer, it's okay because I have the right to.
Well, yes, but that's a natural.
I don't like what Patreon's trying for.
Yeah, but that's a natural market correction because that's the individual consumer having a revolt. I'm talking more about the financial institutions as a whole. So while a solution could be to build an entirely separate payment processing service and, payment system, look at BitChute, look at Gab. I mean, you're going to need an ISP to back them up. That's going to eventually end up being a separate ISP because Microsoft has shut down people. I mean, you're either going to have to create an entire parallel system from the ground up, or we need to have these companies quit fucking around and go back to doing what they're actually supposed to do in their mission statement.
Well, why is there no other online?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just wondering why there are other places to set your domain, right? They took down fucking what are they? Stormfront, whatever the fuck they're called. The stupid Nazi
Daily Stormer. Yeah, the Daily Stormer.
Daily Stormer. Okay. Yeah, they took them down, right? But they found a new domain host from a different country where they don't give a shit. Why can't we find a payment processor the same way?
U.S. protective laws are very useful. I'm sure you could set up one in the Ukraine. I'm sure their fees would be quite low, but there might be some instability there. But actually, Ferret, I actually wanted to touch upon something you just said there. let's say Patreon wasn't dealing with this quote unquote fuckatry here, and I was here, I was doing maybe some entertaining things, and I had a Patreon. Would you toss me a buck?
Fine. Yeah.
I didn't hear any of that.
Oh.
No. The reason why I bring that up is because I think that might actually be a steel man to Patreon's point there. Because if somebody were to just give somebody that maybe has their own channel, but they also do other things, they happen to hop on other people's streams, whether it's a kill stream, whether it's a Sargon Live, or whatever other type of stream it might be, they just kind of like the person's just their general internet character, like a Mr. Medica or something like that. If somebody's going around doing something like that and they're getting paid for that, then one could say if you are a YouTuber and your job is going around, whether it's on your channel or other people's channels, that could be part of quote unquote manifest observable behavior. I don't know.
Sorry, I cut out there. I said yes, I would throw you $1 if I was entertained.
Okay, so that would Steelman Patreon's defense. I ain't saying it's the greatest defense. I'm just saying it is a defense.
Which is why, I suggested like an alternative or like an option that maybe Streamlabs could do. Again, it's just a suggestion, not saying that they will or won't. Just listing the economical viable options.
Have you added
I highly doubt that they would answer to me if I did send them an email. But I mean, I'd be more than willing to try.
Hey, Maestra?
Yeah.
Wasn't Ray talking about implementing a monthly payment system for BitChute?
Yeah, no, he absolutely was. The biggest problem that he's running into is the fact that, at least as far as BitChute is concerned, from what he spoke openly with me about, is they're going to have to, it looks like, go into cryptocurrency because they cannot get a payment processor to back the site anymore. So because they cannot get Stripe and because they cannot get PayPal to even work with them, because they are supposedly a hate-filled, alt-right, blah, blah, buzzword bullshit here site, irrespective of the fact that that's not really what they do, they're going to have to go the route of crypto, which, while not a separate parallel system, I think would be a stopgap measure to fix the issue. That's why I've been presenting it as much as I can throughout this conversation.
Well, Maestro, you actually bring up a great point, which I just was reminded that you said earlier. You're talking about using crypto as more or less a commodity. Why couldn't we just trade in commodities and then just change it back to fiat?
Difficult to do. It's bulky and difficult to do. That's low res capitalism. That's something
what
that
if it was done in bulk size?
Well, no, you want me to answer your question? Please give me a second to answer your question. The reason why we don't do that anymore is we discovered about 7,000 years ago or so, because minting started in ancient Egypt at about 5 to 4,000 BC, somewhere in there. We don't know the exact time. But we started doing it because it was virtually impossible to do massive, interpersonal trading, because who are you to value what your pot is versus what this pig is worth? And it gave a universal balance for exchange. So you're talking about actually degrading our level of civilization for just commodity exchange. That's the issue with it.
Well, no, Means, I'm looking at this practically. Are you going to fucking send Sargon a chicken a month? Oh, as his Patreon?
Well, I would love to send Sargon a chicken, especially if it could lay him some eggs, because eggs are good, lean protein.
I thought V was
well, that's another story in and of itself. We'll leave V alone in Romania. But no, while I may not actually send him a physical chicken, why could I not simply invest in chickens and then basically in a chicken market, a chicken company, basically the actual commodity, the financial instrument itself, sell that off and then transfer that money to the said individual?
There's absolutely nothing that stops you from doing that.
Why not do it in blueberries?
Well, there's several steps in order to make that happen. First off, I mean, assuming that you're not using any form of cash-based capitalism at all in this exchange, and so therefore you're not engaging in the stock market, you would have to, invest somehow in at that point, foreign poultry farm, so that way they could deliver the goods or do the commodity exchange at that point. I mean, for the individual person like me in Kansas could not easily ship eggs or parts of a chicken or whatever to someone in Canada. Just crossing the international border would add tariffs and all kinds of other issues to that. There's a very specific reason why we all agreed at around 2000 BC or so to use gold as the actual currency that would be recognized worldwide. I mean, there's a very specific reason why humanity adopted that in our capitalist exchanges between monarchies. So, I mean, you're talking about reverting us back to a very, very primitive form of our society and our civilization. And I don't think that's helpful, personally. I don't.
So I understand it sounds crazy and would send us back 7,000 years, but could it actually work? And again, I'm not talking about actually that. So let's say you had a company that dealt in basically small transactions. Maybe it kind of kept things in more of an escrow-esque, non-actual escrow account, but basically a pooled account. It then, on a daily basis, invests in whatever chicken trading or whatever, and then Sargon sets up an LLC a la Sargon's hatchery. Basically, you invest in a chicken market or something, or whatever commodity it is, wheat, oil. I mean, you could literally just invest in anything and then sell off the financial instrument for cash.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about
wait a second.
chickens?
Yeah.
Blueberries.
No, there's a much bigger problem with what you're presenting, Memes, and I'm going to stop talking over people after this. You're still using a fiat-based currency to invest in and pay out from. So you still have not stepped away from the actual upgrade that we've had to our capitalist model. You're just adding extra layers to it. You're not actually revolutionizing or regressing anything. You're just making it overly complex.
We're talking about selling chickens to get Sargon cash.
Well, but that's the point. You're still using cash. You're not sending him actual chickens, so therefore you're not doing a one-to-one commodity exchange. You're still using some form of fiat currency to invest in and divest from. So therefore, it's just overly complicated and doesn't actually change anything.
So we should send the pigeons.
Sure. Send him around.
I told you carrier pigeon.
I like chickens.
Me too.
Well, I just want to know, on this highway to Crazy Town Memes, is there a spot where I can do a U-turn?
No.
Okay, so the sheer fact we could interchange said chickens with oil, which is a readily available commodity, yes, while it does have volatility, more or less on a day-to-day basis, you could actually invest and divest. And yes, I also realized you could cook the chicken in said oil.
Wait. Is it motor oil? Because I'm down for that.
Yeah, I never specified.
Well, but, okay, so you invest and divest. You're still using a form of currency. If your original proposition is, why can't we trade one-to-one commodities? That would be trading a chicken for a pillow, a cow for a car door, these types of things. And the issue with that being is, are you planning on going to the supermarket with a 3/4 full drum of oil, because that's the commodity you wish to use now in this discussion, to pay for your groceries?
Couldn't we just invest in like Wendy's gift certificates?
Again, that's still a form of high-end capitalism, because you're using a tiered-based exchange. You're not doing a direct one-to-one exchange. You're not trading a 32-ounce big gulp cup full of motor oil for your waffle burger and fries. Like that's the fundamental issue that I'm presenting to this particular line of thought. Is that until you get rid of that, you're still engaging in fiat currency exchange.
Well, no, in Memes, this is what you do. You send Sargon a coupon for 75% off a suit from Men's Warehouse. You got it covered.
He's getting better. He got his suit tailored. It's still too big, but that's okay. He's improving. He's trying. But no, well, and Miestra, I understand that as far as an economic idea, I am completely violating it and going the fiat route. I was entertaining the idea while at the same time trolling a little bit just for the sheer fact that MD suggested chicken. So I'm like, all right, rather than actually send them a chicken, let's actually figure this out. How could we technically invest in chicken and get Sargon some cold hard cash? The novelty of the conversation is not completely lost on me.
No. I didn't realize you were trolling. I was taking that quite seriously and trying to consider and reply to your.
Okay. I'll just wait till we know for sure.
Yeah, should be back up momentarily. I mean,
We're back.
Are we?
We're back.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
we're back.
So apparently
All right,
my
cool.
internet that's my bad, people. My internet herped when it should have derped. So I apologize about that. Apparently I didn't pay enough blueberries.
Or bones.
So I'm sorry
Anti
for
Jack
interrupting
and
you. Ferret,
Anti Jack and Chad had brought up even primitive people had money. The earliest money we know of were made from seashells, and I asked, what were those seashells backed by? To which he responds with a promise.
Oh,
They were marked with value. Now,
Well-
here's my problem, right? Right? So, I don't understand this concept. I don't understand that they were backed with a promise. Someone please fucking explain this to me.
All right. Do you have a dollar bill accessible to you?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look on the
We're
very
carrying
back
it in.
of the dollar bill in the center. It should say, "In God We Trust." There's your promise.
Oh,
Well,
good
no,
point. Okay.
It's even easier. Look at the front where it says Federal Reserve Note. Yeah,
No.
I'm telling you, it's
I brought
fucking-
that up real quick. I brought that up very specifically, Mad, because when we switched off the gold and silver standard, every single minting of a U.S. currency had printed on it, "In God We Trust." So that is the direct example, because if you find dollars in coin form or cloth form prior to going off the gold exchange, because we've been using cloth-based currency since the Civil War. But since that point, we've had that "In God We Trust" on it. So that's the way you tell that it's a promise and it's not backed by an actual gold or silver reserve.
Well, yeah, no, and my father-in-law, he actually collects money. I got him a silver certificate for his birthday or whatever. So yeah, it's a silver note, and you used to take it to the bank and be like, "I want my silver," and they'd hand it.
So we can get Sargon silver.
Actually, yes. That's something that's come up that is actually worth delving into in the discussion. Silver and gold exchange commodities for donation, payment, and internet transaction is become an excellent stopgap, at least in appearance, from the consumer market. So
crap! No, we wouldn't be able to help Sargon with that because I believe it's either silver or gold. I think gold might be exempt, but silver, I believe, has like a 20% tariff or tax, or there is something about trading silver in the UK. One of those precious metals has a restriction, the other does not. Sorry to cut you off.
Well, no, it's fine. I was just bringing that up as a prime example because that's actually occurring right now in real time, is that you can donate and gift. And as much as people like to make fun of David Seaman, he actually ran his channels for a good long time exclusively off of silver and gold donation commodity exchange. So, before he got driven off the internet because nobody liked him talking about Pizzagate bullshit, but that's how he ran his entire financial donation scheme for all of the channels that he had was off of that. And that is a viable alternative. You can directly gift donate gold and silver as a payment option. So, that's not something to laugh at. That's something that actually exists.
So what I'm hearing is we need to form an amalgamation, cash for gold, and a Western Union style business, so Sargon on stream can just shower himself in some gold doubloons.
Oh God, I do not want to give the man a couple $100,000 so he can drop like 2 to 4 freaking gold doubloons on him. Please no, for fuck's sake.
No, but the anger level of the internet would be over. I just think that's a given.
Yeah. Oh, we lost someone from the conversation. Oh, Miss Silea. I think Miss Silea had to go deal with that child aggro.
No, she said she couldn't stay for the whole stream anyway. But no, that's very interesting because I wasn't even thinking about that. But so you're saying, Miestra, that essentially like actual certificate. Actually, no, MD brought that up because he actually has a silver note. So like that's actually something that could be feasible.
Yeah, no, that's something that is absolutely feasible. The only problem is
no longer honor them though.
Well,
sorry, Miestra. I just want memes to not go out and go find a bunch of memes and try and turn them in.
No, they do. You just cannot turn them in at a normal bank. So, for example, I do have a gold certificate that is available for me to turn in at the Federal Exchange in Kansas City, Missouri, and I will get gold for it. Like that is still viable. The difference, though, is that you have to go to a reserve bank, and those are limited to 1 to 2 per state. So, I mean, your accessibility of access to the raw material is what the issue, not the actual certificates themselves. And the shipping of the precious metals themselves typically aren't done. So, like, if you buy like $100 worth of gold for somebody, they're not going to get 5 ounces of gold typically. They will get an exchange voucher that they can take to a Federal Reserve or equivalent national bank association that you can turn in that certificate for, and then you will get however much that's worth.
Okay. So, are these modern certificates then? Because what I'm talking about is, and before the Federal Reserve came into being, when they switched from the gold. And
I'm talking about 2018, circa 2018.
Yeah, I'm talking about antique notes. I'm talking about notes people collect.
About modern exchange. That's let me preface that. That's all I'm talking about is modern direct precious metal exchange. Like that is viable. That does exist. It's just a major hassle, and you can't pay any third-party vendor with silver or gold. So you would have to go cash in the voucher because they're actually called vouchers now. So you'd actually have to cash in the voucher at least in America, a Federal Reserve, get the precious metal, then go sell the precious metal to a third party because you cannot cash it at the reserve for monetary. They can only give you the direct amount at the reserve. And then from there, you can use whatever cash you got from that direct exchange of what I said 5 ounces before. So let's go with that. So for that 5 ounces, let's say you get, $200 because it's trading higher when you decide to cash in the physical mineral. And then from there, you could go buy groceries. But you're talking about, let's see, it'd be like a 50-mile round trip for me to go to the reserve, and then another probably 30-mile round trip for me to go exchange it, and then I could go buy groceries. I mean, it's not exactly viable for, direct, cash use, but it is a way that you can pay, especially if you have somebody that is into like has like a safety deposit box or some other form of higher end of banking interaction where they can hold on to it and bank it. But then you run into all kinds of issues of like precious mineral hoarding, and there's a whole bunch of international laws that go into that because there was some big family just got hit for that because they dumped a shit ton of worth of silver that they've been into the market and flooded the market for a higher exchange rate. That happened back in October, and I can't remember the exact nationality of the family, but it was equivalent to like the Saudi royal family just decided to drop like a couple tons of gold into the gold market kind of shit. So
that's very interesting, and it sounds very complicated. At this point, I think it'd be easier for me to just purchase 5 shots of a Goldschlager for Sargon.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, we're not talking about something that the average person could actively trade in. We're talking about options of payment other than in solutions for. So, like, for example, I'm going to do a quick Google search here. Gold.
Okay, well, while you're doing the Google search, my question is, can you take those antique notes and actually, instead of selling them to another collector, take them in and turn them in?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well, if it was, unless there was a grace period, but there should be some form of compensation if it's a federal note.
It's complicated because trading for the actual raw material requires that you either go to the Federal Reserve Bank itself. And again, I'm American, so I'm speaking from knowledge as America, but you have to go to a Federal Reserve to get it. So, As far as the antique vouchers go, I don't know. It's like, 10 pence coins that are worth thousands of dollars because they're in mint condition. I mean, they're still only worth a tenth of a penny outside of a collector.
So I think we all need to buy some savings bonds from the 80s and hope for the best.
Well, see, like right here, after a quick Google search, I can immediately get access to a gold money exchange, and I can buy platinum, rhodium, silver, gold, and it's by tenth of an ounce all the way up to pound. And Jesus, I'm not buying a pound of fucking platinum, but you get the idea. Like it was that easy to get a hold of. It's right there, and they will buy and trade it. So I mean, it is not inaccessible.
The crazy thing is, platinum is still less than gold. I believe last time I checked, it was like $930 for a Z versus what was it, like $1230? I
don't know. I'm not actually looking at the exchanges. I'm posting in Redeye stream the first return I got, so you can. Gotcha. It was that easy. It was just boom, boom, and there you are.
All right. So, since we're now literally debating on potentially sending old pirate treasure to actual like YouTubers and stuff, this seems extremely complicated. And going back to what Optimus kind of laid out with YouTuber Law filing the FTC complaint, here's the thing. I at first said it was a lawsuit. It is not an actual lawsuit. It's a simple complaint that could potentially warrant an FTC investigation. If they actually start looking into it, I mean, very often any players that are acting kind of Machiavellian in the industry, let's just say most folks are on their best behavior. It's kind of like the boss that always comes by at Friday afternoon, just making sure that stuff and things are still getting done versus everyone just kind of sitting around and, just kind of pediddling out.
Yeah, basically the bottom line is I would not be surprised within the next 6 months to a year if, say Subscribestar got all their, quote-unquote permissions back from all the payment processors and stuff like that because of the potential investigation going on. I mean, YouTuber Law is not a small-time YouTuber. I mean, I watch him regularly, as well as a lot of other people as well. And he has a lot of backing for this, as well as, he has my backing. So, I mean, whatever that process is, I'm going to look into it and see what I can do. Because, reasons. I'm actually contributing to, a solution rather than complaining about the problem.
Well, I'm trying to contribute as well in that regard. As far as like the currency exchange goes, it would not be that difficult to take and build a rare metals exchange to use as your monetary transfer, especially internationally, because those are traded on an international market. The same thing with Bitcoin. Like that's part of the reason why I brought it up is the fact that you don't actually physically have to exchange the precious metal to get the actual exchange up and working. That was the greater point I was trying to get at, and perhaps I didn't articulate that well enough. Sorry for that.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to say, except I just use MD's kind of troll of the chickens.
Well, I mean, it can absolutely be done, and it would absolutely work. As far as Optimus's point about them getting it revoked, I mean, look at the gaming industry. Look at how EA is fighting shits and giggles as hard as they can to not be hit as an actual gaming institution because of the way they handle loot boxes. Like EA is reforming the way it treats its customers because of threat from the federal government. Therefore, the extrapolation of that is just a threat of investigation and international meddling might be enough to get these bad actors to go back to acting appropriate.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, especially when it comes to like EA, right now they're going to institute a form of censorship into Overwatch for the tournament players and for everybody else. I mean, this is censorship across the board, and when we're talking about Patreon, that's what we're talking about: censorship. They're censoring your money. If you want to donate to a YouTuber, they're saying no. He says naughty things, and do it.
So you know what? You know what to do? You know how we fix this? Stop using the fucking platform. They'll die off. It's okay.
Yeah, that's the natural market correction that I was talking about. Is that there is a damn good chance because of consumer revolt that we will see Patreon upend within the first quarter of this year. If they keep bleeding the way they are, the problem could solve itself because of their practices. And that was why I was saying that would be the best option, would be a grassroots, uncampaigned response. Is just everyone is tired of their shit and leaves and goes directly to PayPal direct payments kind of shit, which is already happening.
You know what will happen if Patreon fucking flops? You know what happens? Someone fills the hole in the market.
I think Professor Peterson and Dave Rubin are already trying to fill the hole.
Yeah, and I'm following that too as well. Yeah. And I'm like, they didn't have a lot of information about it, but I'm gonna continue following it. So because I'm really interested in what they come up with.
Yeah, and I actually like Maestra's little the gold and silver, just the rare metal exchange. I mean, there's that actually seems like something that a lot of folks, especially maybe folks of more of a libertarian nature there, because now you're actually like backing it up with something physical that we've been trading for thousands of years. So like I'm just thinking about that. It's like, yes, there are options, and the sheer fact that this has actually happened, we've gotten to that, rather than just being like, well, all you do is you go up on your YouTubes, you hop on your Twitters, you put out these links, just kind of your standard generic things, you set up your Patreons and everything, and this is how you be a YouTuber. Now there has been chaos to the market, so we're now starting to see other platforms start to emerge, start to arise. I mean, this chaos, I mean, it is breeding ingenuity and stuff like that. And the sheer fact we're talking about different ideas here, heck, maybe none of us actually do any of those ideas, but maybe someone here sees something, they mention it to another person, and you never know, because hey, as a wise velociraptor once said, everyone influences everyone.
Well, I mean, in that specific regard, part of the reason why I jumped on the mention of a precious metal exchange is I cannot stand unbacked fiat currency, because it is, as Batman's mentioned several times in the text chat, that it is surely based off of a promise. And with nothing backing it up as an actual commodity exchange, there's nothing to handle inflation or deflation. So you
you guys didn't understand my question earlier. Okay, I didn't say I didn't understand the whole it's a promise thing because I didn't understand it. I said it because that idea makes no fucking sense to me. Unbacked.
Well, I don't like it either, but from what we were told as a populace, the reason why we moved off of the gold and silver standard was we were unable to maintain that much in a reserve to equal out to our economy. So they were running out of physical precious metals to hold on to. So therefore they shipped off of it because reasons, basically.
Well, the thing is with the metals, right? There's only a limited amount of precious metals, and when Reagan was in office, he went away from the gold standard because that allowed him to be able to print, the allowance of money to be printed without, regulating it and backing it by something that was limited, which allowed for the whole process of inflation.
That's very interesting. I didn't actually hear what you said.
You didn't actually hear what I said?
No, excuse me. No, I heard. I wasn't thinking. I was focused on the chat. The chat is going off. Oh man, we got some chaos going on. Chaos going on in the market. Chaos going on in the chat. Going on in the world. That's synchronicity, man. That sounds good. Hashtag synchronicity.
But then again, that's life. You got to roll with the punches. So as I was saying, when Reagan was in office, he went away from the gold standard, which had the allowance of money to be able to be printed without restriction, allowing for inflation because it wasn't regarded to something that was finite.
Yeah, that's what caused the savings and loan bust, if I remember correctly. I was a little kid when that happened, so I don't remember.
Well, no, that was all on the behest of the Federal Reserve, who wanted it that way. And now you notice we have a bubble and a fucking bust. What, every 10 years? Look at the tech industry bubble in the 90s. Then what happened in the 2000s? I mean, come on. It's a repeating cycle, and it's the Federal Reserve doing.
Well, I mean, the economy it naturally moves in different cycles. I mean,
It
yeah,
wouldn't
the
go
Fed
so
and government
drastic if you
influence.
had it. It wouldn't go so drastic if you had it based on actual substance, not fiat, not, you know, we say it is, so it
Well,
is.
we have
And I
a
know that's a
substitute
shitty
oil.
Latin translation.
So
But,
so
well,
let me interject here for a second. And Timmas said that was not Reagan. Try before Kennedy. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'll look into it. But yeah. Okay, go ahead. Continue. I just wanted to clear that point up and not ignore the point she was making.
yeah,
Well-
no, and look at what the Federal Reserve is doing right now while they're raising interest rates and making the stock market fluctuate like a motherfucker because they don't understand what's going on because the Federal Reserve says one thing and does another 3 months later. Okay, kill the fucking monster from Jekyll Island.
Wait, what monster?
The Federal Reserve.
Oh, does it have green eyes?
No, they are a freaking nest of vipers, and I will root them out. Fucking Andrew Jackson talking about the fucking National Bank of the United States, and I say the same thing about the Federal Reserve.
Well, I mean, we're checking on them and everything. We're making sure like all their books are up
I
to
almost
date and
spit my
everything.
oh fuck off! I almost spilt my beer all over my fucking self. Are you kidding me? We're checking them. When was the last time we had an audit of the Federal Reserve?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, it's not like we just give folks the ability to print money and like not double check on that stuff.
Where's my Ethernet? I know I still have it somewhere from Monday's show. Where's my fucking Ethernet? I'm gonna hang myself off the fucking porch.
Look, it's gonna be more of a hassle to tie the knot. Okay, so.
No, I mean, as far as that goes, I don't like the fact that it is a pure on fiat currency. That's insane. And yeah, to Matt's point, I don't like the international reserve system because it's not just the Federal Reserve; it's an international reserve at this point because there's no country, at least in the first world that I know of, that uses the gold or silver standard. I mean, but we have gone far afield from discussing the Patreon solution thing. So I don't know if we should nip this and go back or what y'all want to do there.
All I gotta say is the solution is more butter and more blueberries.
Absolutely, we
gone that
need
far?
all the blueberries.
Have we really gone that far from the initial discussion, though? Because we're talking about how you're going to finance people, and finances really boils down to a fiat currency. And by the way, once again, I've been on YouTube 3 years, so why not fucking stray a little bit in the last 20? Because
no, that's fine, Matt. I brought that up specifically because if we're talking about censorship, we're not getting. That's not a discussion of the Federal Reserve.
I know, but I'd love to rant about the Federal Reserve.
I know you do. That's why I was trying to rein you in a little bit there, buddy. I wasn't trying to be an ass.
Yeah, it gets the inner libertarian just screaming, like, no. Just
it does.
This man.
Fuck yeah, it does. I'm right there with you as far as that's concerned. Like,
no. Well, MD, perhaps the time has come. Perhaps we should truly communicate to President Trump that he has the ability to mint as many trillion-dollar platinum coins as he would like with his likeness on it to deposit into the Fed, thereby nullifying the Fed.
And with that, I think we're gonna wrap up with that little thing with the final thoughts. So yeah, 20 minutes left. It should be enough for everyone to get through, right?
I think so.
All right, Mad, what are your final thoughts on this whole process?
All right, well, the overall discussion was pretty much around Patreon, and I think what they're doing is blatant.
Is it just me, or did he cut out?
he
No,
cut
he
out
cut out.
badly.
Okay, I thought the blueberries might have, gone in the interwebs. We'll definitely come back to him. Memes.
Yeah, so going off what Mad was doing while the hamsters are on wheel charging the internet rays again, basically what I kind of see what's going on here. And yeah, no, I'll try to go out there and steelman Patreon's position, because if they actually have a position, that should be able to stand with under its own weight. However, in this instance, it's just the campaign they've done after, just referencing this, referencing VidCon, referencing something that's 10 months old. The sheer fact that we're bringing up to the discussion is, what is the statute of limitations for stupid things that people may or may not do on the internet? If you're looking at folks like, what was it, Chris Hart? Oh, he said these things a decade ago. Was it stupid shit? Yeah, we all say stupid shit every single freaking day. But it's just, are we going to hold everybody to account? Because this is what's going to happen. Because this is what we've seen over the past couple of years, everybody. It's folks are starting to freak out about this, freak out about that. And it just seems to go on and on into just a never-ending purity spiral. And this happens again and again on pretty much every side. From what I can see, it just ends up devolving into chaos. Are we at the point now where we just need to say, hey, listen, we all do stupid shit. As long as you're not actually doing anything like breaking the law, inciting violence, doing something criminal, just let folks have the ability to say what they want to say, and then just let things happen naturally. If folks don't want to associate with them, that's fine. However, just simply trying to get someone to lose their job over a tweet that they had over a decade ago, that just seems kind of silly to me.
All right. Maestra.
Oh boy, my final thoughts. My final thoughts are financial institutions as a whole, internationally, need to go back to being financial institutions and only worrying about whether or not your money clears the bank. If I want my morality served to me, I'll go to church. I don't need to get it from MasterCard, Visa, or wherever. I don't think that that's appropriate. I don't think it serves any function in a modern society. And if they're not going to do their jobs, we as consumers should find a alternative, like many that have been bandied about here, to deal with it on our own. Because I do not see anything healthy about having Bank of America or MasterCard tell me what I'm allowed to morally think or feel.
Gotcha. Mad, are you back?
I don't even know where I was. Go ahead.
Do you have final thoughts based on all this, or?
Oh, I do. But also fuck CenturyLink. But that means that.
His final thought is fuck CenturyLink. Ferret.
Woohoo Patreon till they piss me off, then I'll use carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon works too, and blueberries. I do take payment in blueberries. So my final thought on all this is moving forward with the solution, like I said before, communicating with other platforms that have already been established, much like Streamlabs, which already have, the capability to do so. Like even I might do that and try to contact them to see if they've considered that possibility, and if they reject it, find the reasons why. But the thing is, we can only try to move forward with solutions instead of focusing on the problem. So, with that being said, I see chat's going crazy. Mad, anything else besides fuck CenturyLink?
Yeah, no, I was in mid-sentence. We failed to mention a lot of people on the left that are also being deplatformed. I do have a question here because we got 15 minutes left. Do you guys think they're deplatforming some of these people just so they look like they're being even-handed? Because that's what it looks like to me, to be honest.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, I can say that's a good assessment.
See, I'm not so inclined to agree. I think what's happening is they are taking the most egregious parties brought to their fore and dealing with them, as opposed to directly like trying to cover their asses. Well, oh, you brought this to my attention, so I will deal with this, as opposed to I think I should do something about this problem. I think that there's a fundamental difference between the way that those are applied and handled, because it's one thing to offer up a patsy to throw to the masses than it is to legitimately try to correct an issue. Maybe I'm not expressing it well, but I think you guys can understand the heart of what I'm getting at.
I think a lot of it might actually be coming down to the fact that folks more on the quote unquote right are actually starting to report things more. Because I mean, let's face it, no matter what terms of service, someone's always going to break in the terms of service or whatnot. It's just how does it actually go about? Because even Ms. Hart in that interview or in that transcript of said conversation, she even stated when things are brought to their attention from people utilizing the report feature on Patreon, reporting other people, then it's looked at by people. That was part of that conversation there. And if it's got to the point where a lot of times, if you had many folks on the left shaming folks on the right, and a lot of folks on the right were like, well, we're not going to do some principle or something like that. No, we don't believe in that. I think it's gotten to the point where many on the right are just saying, like, throwing their hands up in the air and saying, screw it. It's like, whatever. If you've been using these tactics against us, and we often have denounced these tactics, at this point, well, you know what? Let's just jump in the mud and just rumble. Because I do think a lot of this is what it comes from. Because somebody did report Sargon, whether it was on the left, the right, center, wherever it may be. It's just folks are just starting to utilize the tools on the platforms. And again, I've said this many times, but when I'm watching like a Dr. Winter stream, she'll just out and out say, she's like, oh no, I saw this just looked offensive. I believe it violated the TOS. I report that person on Twitter. And just, I didn't see the same thing on many of the folks on the right, but I think it's starting to happen that people are just saying, screw it.
So rules for radicals: use their own tactics against them, and you will,
That was exactly what I was thinking, Mad. That's exactly what they're limited to in that regard, where your principles are great until it's obvious that you're losing a fight, and you might as well throw sand in the eyes because they're throwing sand in yours, which I don't think is a healthy long-term answer. But I mean, you can't fight with a hand.
We'll reap what happens after we roll around the mud. Because if you're just gonna roll around there, it's like, all right, now you're just trying to kill each other by any means necessary. That
exactly.
Shit.
I don't know. As far as some of the more, as far as some of the more egregious people on the left, like it has been brought up repeatedly. Like if you look at Jack Dorsey and what he allows on Twitter, there have been a good number of studies where people will, and this one was fantastic, where people take excerpts of Mein Kampf and change it to white male, and it's allowed. And then they just put the actual Mein Kampf in there, and their account's immediately gone. So I think some of it is just the fact that it's making enough noise by having enough of the right-wing political class pointing out that it's a problem for them to stop shadow banning as much. Because, I mean, you got to remember, Trump's been banging on about shadow banning and targeting of conservative groups since before he was elected. And it's, I think, now starting to have an effect.
Okay, and now I just need to point out that MD, according to Batman, you need to now dance on the stream. And Bullocks, how dare you? As far as I know, X meme's still with us. There's banter in the chat.
Yeah, no, I read it.
Yeah, we've been reading.
But no, I don't know. I just think they're not really leaving us much, many choices, really. We can't build our own payment processors. I mean, none of us are the Koch brothers. Maybe they should for us. I don't know. Let's get Trump on that. I mean, I'm sure he's got them on speed dial, right?
Didn't they donate against him?
Yeah, they did. They donated to the Libertarian Party, but you know how it is. Now I'm sure they're pro-Trump, right?
Well, that was more of the point I've been getting at the entire stream, where yeah, you can have a large libertarian centrist or right wing philanthropist type go in and set up their own system, but at that point you're looking at parallel systems. And just from a historical standard, you do not want that. That is the grounds for civil war. And that is my argument against it, because I find that to be horrifically dangerous.
Yeah, the internet's a very dangerous place. You need to make sure you, just wear your knee pads, toss on your helmet, wear your Kevlar flak vest. Because when you're jumping into the internet, you're gonna want those things, or at least Call of Duty. Optimus, give us blueberries.
Yeah, definitely blueberries. Well, I mean, with it 10 minutes, being up, I don't think we have really anything else to talk about, do we?
Nah, I'm just chatting.
Gotcha.
Oh, what did you want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean,
no, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you everybody for coming out. Good night, good luck, and don't go to France.
And we want to celebrate MADDS, 3 years on YouTube?
Yeah, it's been a nice ride.
Right. And the people in chat have showed their love by, saying the stream sucks. So, with that being said, the thing is, you might think the stream sucks, but it's growing. So,
hey, you're sucking with us.
So, with that being said, regardless of what's being said in the chat, we do enjoy you coming out and, interacting with everyone. And who knows, I may actually read the manual for washing machine.
Oh dear.
Yeah. My voice, I'll throw in blueberries in there every so often, and with that being said, everyone have a good evening, and thanks for coming out.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Oh yeah.